Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Senate Republican Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's invoked the so-called nuclear option, speeding up the confirmation of President Trump's judicial nominees. After just 33 minutes of debate, senators voted Wednesday along party lines in favor of the new rules, which will limit the Senate to just 2 hours to debate on whether to confirm nominees to U.S. district courts. The move rolls back a more than 2-century-old Senate tradition of unlimited debate for federal court nominees. Under McConnell's Senate leadership, President Trump's already succeeded in appointing federal judges at a record pace in a move toward far-right judges that will reshape the judiciary for decades to come. Members of a House committee have cleared the way for Congress to subpoena special counsel Robert Mueller's full report on Russian interference in the 2016 election. Wednesday's 24-17 vote by the House Judiciary Committee along party lines came one day after Attorney General William Barr missed a deadline imposed by lawmakers to turn over the full Mueller report. This is Committee Chair Gerald Nadler.
The Trump administration has an idea. They want to redact the Mueller report before they provide it to Congress. The Department of Justice says the proposal is a means to protect sensitive information that would not ordinarily be made part of the record. But we have reason to suspect this administration's motives. The Mueller report probably isn't the, quote, total exoneration, unquote, the president claims it to be.
This comes as the New York Times reports investigators on special counsel Robert Mueller's team believe Attorney General Barr failed to adequately portray the findings of their inquiry and that they were more troubling for President Trump than Barr indicated. The chair of the House Ways and Means Committee on Wednesday formally requested the IRS give Congress copies of President Trump's tax returns over the past 6 years. Trump's the only major party presidential nominee in over 40 years not to release tax information to the public. President Trump repeated his claim Wednesday he's withholding his tax returns from public view because he's being audited, but Trump's former personal attorney Michael Cohen recently refuted that claim in congressional testimony. This is Democrat Dan Kildee, a member of the House Ways and Means Committee, who said Congress is requesting Trump's tax documents from the IRS because, quote, the president is the only person who can sign bills into law, and the public deserves to know whether the president's personal financial interests affect his public decision-making. In Florida, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents have deported an undocumented Argentine immigrant rights activist who was arrested last month shortly before a film showcasing his activism premiered at the Miami Film Festival. Claudio Rojas was featured in the film The Infiltrators, which tells the story of undocumented activists who went undercover to expose abuses at a Broward County immigration detention center. Rojas has lived in the U.S. for 19 years as father and grandfather of U.S. citizens. His attorney called the deportation a travesty of justice, telling the Miami Herald, it's clear this is retaliation. To see our interview from the Sundance Film Festival with the director of The Infiltrators and two of the activists who appear in the film, go to democracynow.org. In New Zealand, police say the man accused of opening fire with an assault rifle at 2 mosques in Christchurch March 15th will face 50 murder charges and 39 counts of attempted murder when he appears in court Friday. The 28-year-old Australian man is an avowed white supremacist who emailed a racist manifesto minutes before the attacks began. Meanwhile, Australia's Senate has formally censured a lawmaker who blamed the killings on immigration policies that allow Muslims to move to New Zealand. Far-right Senator Fraser Anning's comments came on the day of the Christchurch massacre. His Senate colleagues Wednesday denounced the remarks as shameful and appalling. This is Australia's first female Muslim senator, Mehreen Faruqi.
Sadly, what Senator Anning said after the Christchurch massacre, however shocking it isn't out of character. Just a week before I joined this place, he gave a speech calling for a ban on people like me coming to this country and for a white Australia policy. He even invoked the despicable final solution in his speech.
In Tennessee, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office is investigating whether white supremacist graffiti found in the parking lot of the Highlander Center is linked to a fire last week that destroyed one of the Civil Rights Institute's buildings. On March 29th, the fire tore through the main office of the Highlander Research and Education Center, the famed social justice organization that once hosted Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and trained Rosa Parks in nonviolent civil disobedience. This is Highlander co-director Ashley Woodard Henderson.
We are physically okay. Everyone on our staff is physically okay. No one was physically harmed. We did lose, obviously, some really important historical documents. It was not our full archive.
Authorities are investigating the fire as a possible arson and hate crime after a white power symbol was found spray-painted in the center's parking lot. The symbol is frequently used by white power groups and was painted on one of the guns used by the alleged mosque shooter in Christchurch, New Zealand last month. In a statement, the Highlander Center said, quote, "While we do not know the names of the culprits, we know that the white power movement has been increasing and consolidating power across the South, across this nation, and globally," they said. In Texas, police have dropped a felony arrest warrant against an African-American woman who was threatened with a gun and brutally beaten by a white man in a Dallas parking lot March 21st. 24-year-old Janique Lee says what should have been a minor traffic dispute quickly escalated to violence when 30-year-old Austin Sheffield followed her, brandished an unlicensed handgun, and slapped Lee's cell phone out of her hands as she tried to call 911. After Lee fought back, Sheffield repeatedly punched her in the head while allegedly shouting racial slurs. Lee was the first to be charged in the case on felony criminal mischief charges for allegedly smashing the windows of her assailant's truck after she was assaulted by him. But when a bystander's video of the incident went viral on social media, prompting street protests, prosecutors dropped charges against Lee Wednesday. Her attacker, Austin Sheffield, now faces multiple charges. Elsewhere in Texas, one person was killed and two others hospitalized after a blast tore through a chemical plant outside of Houston Tuesday. The fire at the plant in Crosby, which produces a highly flammable gas used in the production of jet fuel, was the second such fire at a Houston-area chemical plant in less than 3 weeks. On March 17th, a massive fire at a petrochemical plant in Deer Creek sent a cloud of toxic smoke over Houston and is so far away as Austin, 150 miles to the west. President Trump's under fire for falsely claiming that windmills cause cancer. Trump made the remark in a speech to the National Republican Congressional Committee Tuesday, where he touted U.S. oil and gas drilling while mocking renewable energy.
If you have a windmill anywhere near your house, congratulations. Your house just went down 75% in value. And they say the noise causes cancer. You told me that one, okay?
On Wednesday, Iowa Republican Senator Chuck Grassley called Trump's remark idiotic, adding, quote, "I wish his staff would tell him I'm the father and now the grandfather of wind energy tax credits." On Capitol Hill, Democratic lawmakers grilled Labor Secretary Alexander Acosta Wednesday over his role in securing a plea deal for billionaire serial sex abuser Jeffrey Epstein that allowed Epstein to avoid a federal trial and possible life in prison. In February, federal judge Kenneth Mara ruled Acosta broke the law in 2008 while working as a federal prosecutor in Florida after he concealed the plea agreement in violation of the Crime Victims' Rights Act. Acosta's move effectively ended an FBI probe into the case alleging Epstein sexually abused and trafficked more than 30 underage girls. Secretary Acosta was called before a House Appropriations Subcommittee hearing Wednesday where he was confronted by Congressmember Catherine Clark and other Democrats. Clark noted under federal sentencing guidelines, Epstein should have faced a minimum prison sentence of 360 years.
Well, that's not what happened, because there was a power dynamic here, wasn't there? We had teenage girls with no power, who were rape and sexual assault victims, and we have Mr. Epstein and his friends, extremely powerful, wealthy, and connected people. And in a ruling on February 21st of 2019, Judge Mara found you illegally entered a non-prosecution agreement that allowed Mr. Epstein to serve just 13 months in county jail.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Jeffrey Epstein was known to socialize with many prominent figures from Bill Clinton to Donald Trump. Former Vice President Joe Biden says he'll be more mindful of people's personal space after two women stepped forward to accuse a likely 2020 presidential candidate of inappropriate touching. Earlier this week, former congressional aide Amy Lapus said Biden approached her during a Democratic fundraiser in Connecticut in 2009, pulled her head toward his face, and rubbed noses with her. Her allegation came days after former Nevada Assembly member Lucy Flores said Biden came up behind her, smelled her hair, and planted a kiss on the back of her head at an event in 2014. This is Joe Biden speaking in a video posted to Twitter Wednesday.
Social norms have begun to change, they've shifted, and the boundaries of protecting personal space have been reset. And I get it. I get it. I hear what they're saying. I understand it. And I'll be much more mindful. That's my responsibility.
Many Democrats said Biden's statement fell short. Lucy Flores said in a statement, quote, given the work he has done on behalf of women, Vice President Biden should be aware of how important it is to take personal responsibility for inappropriate behavior, yet he hasn't apologized to the women he made uncomfortable, she said. New Mexico's governor signed a bill abolishing Columbus Day and replacing it with Indigenous Peoples Day on the second Monday in October. New Mexico joins Alaska, Minnesota, Vermont, Oregon, South Dakota, and Hawaii in honoring Indigenous people with a holiday. Meanwhile, more than 50 cities across the U.S. have also voted to stop honoring Columbus, an Italian explorer who massacred and enslaved Arawak Indigenous people and opened the door to the European colonization of the Americas. And in the Philippines, the nation's highest court has ordered the government to release documents about thousands of deaths linked to President Rodrigo Duterte's war on drugs. Human rights groups say the release will shed light on extrajudicial killings that opposition lawmakers say have left 20,000 dead since Duterte took office in 2016. This comes as award-winning journalist Maria Ressa pleaded not guilty Wednesday to charges of tax evasion following her second arrest on what she says are bogus politically motivated charges. Ressa is the founder of the independent news site Rappler and a vocal critic of President Duterte. She spoke to reporters just after her not guilty plea.
I still say that these cases are all politically motivated. I mean, where in the world do you come home on a Friday, get arrested, post bail, and on a Monday get another arrest warrant and post bail again? I've been arrested twice in a little over a month and a week or so, right? So it's clear, but we will fight every single one and hope for the integrity of the men and women who will handle these cases.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Nermeen Sheikh. Welcome to our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world.